All right. It's V Movie Reviews, here to do Dark Phoenix. So, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, even ring that bell to get notified whenever I make a new video. Helps the channel grow. I'm here just to try to give these reviews for these movies, because I love them. That's what I do. For you. These movie reviews. That's me. I am the Senor Potay. Alright, I had y'all waiting long enough. So here's the full movie review, spoilers and all, for Dark Phoenix. The first two acts of the movie, not completely, very boring. I mean, the way that they were trying to set it up, honestly, I don't know how he was trying to set it up. Simon Kinberg, he took the blame for all the tragedies of this movie, which he should, because he wrote and directed it. So, I mean, you can't get more clear than that. But, I mean, it was just a mess. This is the second time that they tried the Dark Phoenix Saga, which should really be almost like a Avengers Infinity War and Endgame type film, or films, just because of how big the story is and the complexity of it all and everything. But the movie just felt rushed, it felt unorganized. The second two acts, the first and second act of the movie, felt completely different than the last act. It literally felt like a different movie, a better movie. The only reason why I'm giving this movie even some credibility is the final act, which I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, Marvel, Disney kind of shoehorned that final act, just because, I mean, if they went by what Simon Kinberg was doing, it was probably going to be just crazy in a bad way, in a very bad way. They gave us Jean Grey, they gave us Cyclops, Storm, the whole crew. But, I mean, we only really met them in Apocalypse, which, don't get me started on that, because the continuity errors in this movie from Apocalypse and Days of Future Past is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's bad. It's a bad movie. Better than Origins, Wolverine Origins? Yes, probably, maybe. Better than The Last Stand? To me, they felt eerily similar, but that's debatable. Honestly, I think I agree with the masses where this is probably the worst X-Men movie. The action scenes were awesome. I would expect nothing less in a 2019 blockbuster film, but yes, the action was pretty good. You know, if I want to see, you know, a good superhero movie or a good movie in general, it just wouldn't be this. Would not be this. The way that they portrayed the Phoenix Force in Jean Grey is, to me, it's just stupid. She literally gets triggered by hearing the word Phoenix and then just all of a sudden can't control anything when she was just fine for a whole half a day, I would assume, since the big explosion or actually when the Phoenix Force enters her. But, I mean, that's another thing. The way that they use some of these characters is completely crazy. It really felt at points that Professor Xavier was almost the bad guy of the movie. Like he started all of this chaos from the things that he did when Jean was a child, suppressing her memories and all of that. And even that doesn't make any sense, because if Jean Grey is a more powerful psychic than Professor X, which obviously she is, because she was the one that had to defeat Apocalypse. She's the one, you know what I'm saying, that can block, Professor X out of her mind, this, that, and the other. but she wasn't able to see through a couple blocks in her brain. You think she would have more control over, even without the Phoenix Force, over her powers and her mind. I mean, her power is her mind, essentially. So how does she not see that? Or, when she leaves out to go, away from the X-Men, away from everyone after she's conflicted and, puts people in harm's way at the expansion, she goes to her father because, as the Phoenix Force is, from what Professor Xavier said, breaking down the walls that he set up in her mind, she hears her father. So you're telling me she could never hear him any other time? Even without the Phoenix Force? Because, if she's either similar or on the same level or right there with Professor X, I just don't see how that could be a thing. How? Quicksilver. I feel like they literally just threw him in the movie just to do their super cool, slow-mo, him running fast thing. They do it. They've done it ever since Days of Future Past. Since his dad has been hitting that movie, they've done it every time. In Apocalypse, they had a scene where he saved everyone from X-Mansion. On this one, he gets a scene where he saves all the astronauts, and then during the second act, when they confront Jean Grey at her parents' house, he gets injured in battle, and then we don't see him anymore, period, ever, until the very end. But he's Quicksilver. Doesn't he have super fast healing abilities? Wouldn't he have been up and ready for the time that they went to New York and had to go, try to stop Jean and the aliens that they didn't know about at the time? I think he probably would have been healed. Probably. He did took a pretty nasty fall, courtesy of the Dark Phoenix herself, right before she kills Mystique. But how? There's too many questions in this movie. It's too much jumbled shoestrings of it's too much. It's too much. Too much, too little. Man. Thank God they're back at Disney and Marvel. Thank God. Now to the villains. Now, Jean Grey is supposed to be, she plays the protagonist and antagonist at times, of course, being that's the Dark Phoenix Saga. But, the true villains of the film were these shape-shifting aliens that came down. Apparently, they've been following the Phoenix Force for God knows how long, trying to utilize its power to revitalize their world. But the question that left me when I got done watching the movie was, why? What was their purpose of doing things the way that they did them? Did they want Jean to get infected with the Phoenix Force in order to take it? Could they not just take it themselves? Because it's stated by the leader of the alien race, I believe it was called the Dabari Empire, but the leader of the race, Jessica Chastain's character, literally tells Jean that they've been following the Phoenix Force for God knows how long. I can't remember exactly what she was saying. They gave a time limit, but they said they've been following this Phoenix Force this whole time. They even saw the Phoenix Force enter Jean Grey, herself, in space, which is why they knew to come to Earth to come try to find her. But towards the end of the movie, when Jean's feeling conflicted yet again about her powers, she tells said alien to take the powers away from her, which she starts to, and then of course they all realize that she's way more evil than Jean can ever be, so they want to stop the transfer, and they ended up stopping the transfer with help from Cyclops. But now it's almost as if the Phoenix Force is split, because it's still in the alien, but it's still very much prevalent in Jean. And honestly, I feel as though after the alien took, which I thought was most of the Phoenix Force, out of Jean, it's almost as if Jean Grey got more stronger, just because, I don't know, maybe it was her realizing her true power and it just bolstered that. I'm not sure, but That was strange, and the fact that the alien could absorb the power herself, I don't understand why, if they've been following the Phoenix Force for all these years, why didn't they just let it infect them or come through them? Like, it's really confusing because, you know, they're saying that it's going to build life and all this, you know, just from the Phoenix Force, but they needed Jean Grey to be able to utilize it or control it. But if the leader of the alien group can control it, because she clearly was fighting with it after she took some of it because it was still on her, why didn't they just take it? And when they were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, who knows? Why? Why did they do that? I don't know. But they did, actually. He did. Simon Kinberg, you did that. For the second time, because you were also a co-writer on The Last Stand, which was also loosely based on the Dark Phoenix Saga, which also pretty much sucked. So thank God they're back at Marvel and Disney. Thank God. Well, actually, you know, consistent good X-Men movies, because some of them are good. Days of Future Past, one of my favorites. First Class, also one of my favorites. And on the subject of Days of Future Past, we all remember the end. They show the future. Logan wakes up in the mansion. Professor X is there. Jean Grey's there. Cyclops, Beast, everyone's there. But that completely contradicts what happens at the end of this movie, or in my opinion, it does. Because at the end, you know, Jean takes the alien into space in order to kill her using the Phoenix Force, which in turn makes her implode, which you assume to her death. But of course, at the very end, right before the screen cuts to black and the credits start rolling, you see up in the sky a phoenix-like flame flying through the sky. So does that mean the Phoenix Force has embodied her? It is her? She is the Phoenix Force? Maybe, I guess. But with that being said, Days of Future's Past makes no sense. At the end of this movie, Xavier is off in Paris, and the Xavier School for Gifted Children is now the Jean Grey School for Gifted Children. So I'm assuming he's not running it, because Beast is. And I'm assuming the Days of Future Past timeline is either irrelevant or just they just messed up. Which is, I mean, it could possibly just be that they just messed up, but how is it that Jean Grey was there at the end of that movie, but she's literally in space as the Phoenix Force at the end of this one, which is supposed to be 1992, and, you know, at the end of Days of Future Past, they linked forward to present day, which would have been 2014 or something. So what happened in those 22 years? Did she come back from space and was able to just, first of all, get another body, like regenerate her body, or however that works? Because, I mean, she definitely imploded at the end of that movie. And then, of course, she looked like an actual phoenix in the space. So, I don't know. It's just a mess. It's just one giant mess. Thank God for the final act. Thank God. Because without that, I would give this movie a 0 out of 5. But because, you know, it did have some upticks, you know, I can give it a 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. It's final answer, 2 out of 5. I wish I can give it more. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I love almost all the movies. But this is just, it's just not good. It's not. If you were gonna see it for free, then by all means, go ahead. If you're an X-Men fan, you'll love seeing the powers on screen, of course, because we all do. You know, the different mutants doing crazy stuff. It's always fun. But, I mean, you have to have a good, cohesive story. And I'll repeat, a good, cohesive story. If you have a bad story that's not cohesive like this, it is a complete disaster, which the box office showed exactly what it was. It's not always the case, but in this case, I do believe so. So, again, like I said in my initial review, I wouldn't rush out to see it at all. But like I said, if you got a free ticket, want to kill some time, why not? But, I mean, who's seen it? Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the movie. Because for me, it just wasn't up to par. But I want to know what you think. So, like I said earlier in the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. Like the video. I'm telling you, it helps the channel grow. Like videos. They're very much more prevalent on YouTube, believe it or not. But go ahead and hit that like. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. Was Dark Phoenix the worst movie of the X-Men Saga? You be the judge. I gave you my answer. Good night.